Sometimes you arrive at a location only to realize that there's a motorbike setting off right next to your face. Okay, sometimes you arrive at a location only to realize there's actually nowhere suitable to take off and land from. And in this situation, being able to hand launch and catch is going to be the difference between flying and not flying. Now, hand launching the Avata 2 can seem quite daunting at first, but I'm going to show you that it's actually a really simple process if you know how to do it properly. So I'm going to show you how to hand launch using both the motion controller and the FPV3 controller so that it's going to be a successful, but above all, a safe experience. So if you're new around here, my name is Justin. I've been flying drones for years now, and I actually hand launch and catch this probably about 90% of the time that I actually fly it. And if you've been here before, it's great to see you again. So the first thing that we're going to want to do is make sure that our drone is ready for flight. So we're going to want to turn everything on, then we need to wait until we have a really good GPS fix. So the little GPS symbol in the bottom right, we need that to turn from red to white, indicating we have a good GPS fix. And you'll also get that message flash up which says the home point is updated. That also lets you know you've got a good GPS lock and you're ready to go. Now, the reason we want a really good GPS fix is because if the drone doesn't have a good GPS lock, it's likely to drift in the wind. And with you being really close to the drone during a hand launch, this could potentially result in an accident. So play it safe, make sure you have a good GPS fix before you do a hand launch. Okay, so now that our drone is ready for flight, I'm going to cover where you actually want to be holding it during launches and catches. So when we're doing a hand launch, we want to be holding the Avata 2 from underneath, and when we're doing a hand catch, we want to catch it from the top. Now, the reason we launch from underneath is because the drone wants to go up, so we want to have nice clear space above it, and if we have our hand underneath, we can also feel when the drone is lifting up and ready to take off, and we can just release our grip naturally and let it take off. Now, the reason we want to catch it from above is because we have sensors on the bottom, so if you try and catch it from underneath, it's just going to continue to run away from you and you're never going to be able to catch it, and it makes things much more difficult, where if you come at it from the top, it doesn't see you coming, it's just going to hover in place nice and easy, and you can just come, grab it and flip it over to turn it off. So where do you actually want to hold it underneath during your launches? Well, the Avata 2 has a really nice design here with these arms which create nice little pockets for our fingers to go. So what I recommend you do, you can do this with either hand, and when you're using the motion controller versus the FPV3 controller, you're probably going to use different hands. So practice with both hands and you're just going to be able to see where a comfortable hold is and what feels good. Now, what I recommend is you take your thumb on one side and then 2 fingers on the other side. That gives you a really nice solid hold under the drone, and you can feel what it's doing whilst keeping your hand out of the way of the propellers and also keeping these fingers free, which is going to come in handy when you're using the FPV3 controller for a hand launch. And when it comes to catching the drone, what you want to do is you want to just grab the drone from the top. I recommend thumb on one side and then all the other fingers on the other side. Grab it, turn it over, and it's going to shut the motors off. Now, if you're a bit concerned about doing this first off, what you can do is just practice the same maneuver by just holding the drone like this and pretending it's hovering in place, and then come in, grabbing and turning it over. That's going to give you a little bit of sort of knowledge on where to grab the drone. It's going to get you more comfortable just holding the drone from the top, and that's going to be important because the motors aren't spinning at this point. It's not going to seem as daunting. So practice a couple times, just picking it up from your other hand, turning it over with a nice, good, solid grip on it. And when it comes to the flip over maneuver, don't worry about it. You're not doing any damage to your drone by doing this. All you're doing is you're basically simulating a crash, so it does the emergency propeller stop. That's all you're doing. It's not putting any adverse load on any of the motors or electrical components. You'll be absolutely fine. Now, I do see a lot of people hand launching like this with a flat open palm, and the problem with that is you can see here it's quite unstable. So when the propellers start up, if a gust of wind comes along, it can actually get underneath the drone and lift it out your hand and cause you to have a crash with it. And another problem with holding it like this, if you've got it in your hand like this and all of a sudden it starts to get loose and you just grab up to try and hold it, look where my fingers have gone. They've gone right into the line of the propellers, and that's probably going to do me some damage. So don't do an open palm like this. It's too unstable, and it also has extra risks if you freak out and try and grab the drone more. You're going to get your hands in the propellers. So pinch it underneath and then pinch it from the top. Okay, let's get into actually launching it using the motion controller. All right, so launching with the motion controller, and in fact the same is going to be for the FPV3 controller. First off, I recommend that you don't actually have the goggles on your face like this. Have them resting just on the top of your head. That's so that we can have a good look around and we can see exactly what's going on nice and clearly. You could use pass-through for this, but because it's got a really narrow field of view, I actually don't recommend it because you can't exactly see what's going on all the way around you. It's better to do this with the goggles just up on your head, and then we can put them on after the hand launch has been complete. Now, most people are right-handed, so we're going to have the motion control in our right hand. Make sure that we have that strap around our wrist. That's going to become very important later on because we can just release the motion controller and it's not going to go anywhere. So we're going to have the drone in in our left hand, like I showed you before, thumb on one side, 2 fingers on the other, nice and secure. Now to do the takeoff, you're just going to do the normal process that you would with the motion controller. So you're going to double tap the lock button to start the motors, then we're going to press and hold until we feel the drone ramp up. There's going to come a point where you start to feel it lifting up out of your hand. At that point, just release your grip, let it take off naturally, and then you can sort of get set up, get your goggles down, and begin to fly. So I've talked you through that process. I'm now going to demonstrate it completely, and then, yeah, I'm going to do 2 demonstrations just so you know exactly what's going on. Then we're going to cover landing. So for takeoff, what I'm going to do, I'm going to stand back a bit so you get a bit of a better view. So I'm going to hold the drone out at a nice arm's length. Then I'm just going to double tap the lock button. That's going to start my propellers. And then once I'm ready, I can just press and hold the lock button. Everything is going to ramp up. Once I feel it take off, I just let go and it begins to fly. Then I can just get my goggles on, I can let go of the motion controller, get everything set up, and then once I'm ready, I can just start to fly. Fly around, have some fun, everything's good, and then once I've done, I can come back and do a hand catch. Okay, so let me just demonstrate that once more so you've got a complete understanding. So again, drone in my left hand, 2 fingers on one side, thumb on the other, nice arm's reach, double tap the lock button to start the propellers, press and hold, wait till it starts to take off out my hand, and then just release. The drone is going to hold position nicely, get set up, get ready, and have some fun, fly around. So yeah, it's nice and easy. It's really not very daunting at all. So now we're going to cover landing using the motion controller. Okay, so hand catching with the motion controller. What you want to do is fly the drone back to you, take it nice and slow, and you're aiming for an altitude somewhere between your hip level and your upper torso. That's going to give you a nice, comfortable height to actually catch the drone and flip it over. Don't bring it in too high or too low. It's going to make it awkward to try and grab it. And what you want to do, bring it in nice and close, maybe stop 1 to 2 meters away, so you're still a safe distance away, but you're not too far once you take the goggles off to go and pick it up. So then you're going to want to take the goggles off, then just release the motion controller. The drone is not going to move if the motion controller is not got the trigger activated. Then you're just going to move over to it, grab it on the top like I showed you before, and then just flip it over. So I'm going to do a demonstration now just so you can see that in action. Okay, so you've been flying around, you've been having a good time, it's time to land. So like I said, we're going to bring it back nice and slowly, and I'm going to aim for that hip to upper torso height, and I'm going to stop it around 1 to 2 meters away. I'm going to try and stop it somewhere near my other camera just so you get a better view. So I'm going to release the motion controller now, lift up my goggles, make eye contact with the drone, head over to it, like I said, and turn it over. Nice and easy, nice and simple. It's not daunting. Once you've done it a few times, you're going to get into the habit of it, and it's really simple. I think the dog over there is loving this drone at the minute. Okay, let me do another demonstration just so you fully understand. Okay, so second demonstration, we're coming back again. Nice and slowly, I'm going to aim for that same altitude and roughly near my camera again so you can see it, which is a nice safe distance from me. So I'm going to stop it right about here, let go of the motion controller, goggles up, go over to the drone, pad, turn it over, nice and easy, okay? It's really not a daunting process. Once you've done it a few times, like I said, it becomes much easier. So now I'm going to move on to showing you how to do it using the FPV3 controller. Okay, so the FPV3 controller. Now, a lot of the things that happen with the motion controller are going to be pretty similar, but some things are going to be a little bit different because obviously we're using a different controller. So like before, I'm going to start with the goggles up on my head so I can have a good look around and see exactly what's happening. Next thing you want to do, always take off and land in normal mode. That's going to give us that GPS assistance, which is one of the reasons why we wait for GPS at the beginning. So when we take off and land, it's just going to hold position, hold altitude. It's not going to wander anywhere in the wind. If you're taking off in manual mode, it's going to drift a lot depending on what the wind's doing. So take off in normal mode, it's just going to eliminate that factor. So when launching using this controller, we're going to have the drone in our right hand. Now that's because the altitude or throttle stick is controlled with our left thumb. So we need the controller in our left hand so that we can operate that control stick. So doing the same thing we did before, 2 fingers on one side, thumb on the other in our right hand this time. And then something else you need to bear in mind, if you've got your stick relaxed for manual mode, you need to bear in mind that you have to push it up past 50% in order to get the drone to initiate the takeoff. If you haven't got it relaxed, if you're flying in normal and sports mode, just push it up from where it's sprung, it'll take off, and then you release it, it'll spring back. But if you're taking off with a relaxed stick, push it up past 50%, and then once it's taken off, pull it back down to 50% so the drone holds the same altitude. I also recommend once you've taken off, just tap the pause button if you've got the stick relaxed. That's just going to make sure the drone sits exactly where it is until you're ready to start flying. Okay, so in order to start the propellers using this controller, we need to pull both sticks down into the center. But if one hand's holding the drone and we only have one hand on this, how's that possible? Well, I have a really useful little trick that I've been using for years, and it's so easy, it saves me all the time I'm doing my hand launches. So the reason I keep these 2 fingers free is because I'm actually going to use this part here of my little finger in order to push down on the stick, and I can get it to the center while still holding the drone. It's nice and safe, keeps everything away from the propellers, and it's really handy. I've been using this technique for years now, and everybody else out there, I feel like it's a really handy technique, you should use it. So if I demonstrate like this, left hand like that, right hand like that, pull it down to the center. If I hold it there, the propellers will start. Then I'm just gonna push the stick up past 50% and the drone's gonna take off. Then once it's in the air, I'm just gonna tap the pause button. It's gonna hold in place. Then I can get my goggles down, get everything ready, and then begin to fly. So let me do a full demonstration of that. I'm gonna do it again twice so you can fully see what's going on. And yeah, let's do a hand launch using the FPV3 controller. Okay, so everything's ready to go. Now I'm gonna do the motor start by using this little technique I showed you. The motor start, hold the drone out, nice arm stretch, holding it like I showed you before, and then I'm just gonna push the throttle up past 50%, and it's gonna take off. I'm gonna tap the pause button now, and it's gonna hold the position till I'm ready to go. So I'm gonna put my goggles on, all of that good stuff, and then I'm just gonna enjoy flying around, nice and easy. Okay, so to demonstrate again, so I'm gonna push the sticks down using that little technique, hold the drone out, nice arms reach, and then I'm just gonna push the throttle up past 50%, the drone takes off, press the pause button, it sits where it's gonna sit, then I can get ready, goggles down, and then begin to fly. Happy days. Everyone's happy. Now, something else that I should mention when using the FPV3 controller, having a neck strap is gonna make this a lot easier. It's not vital, you can do it without a neck strap, but it does take away that thought of having to constantly keep hold of your controller. So having a neck strap is gonna give you a little bit of a helping hand in this situation. So if you haven't got one, consider getting one and trying that out too. So let me go through now landing using the FPV3 controller. So when it comes to landing, what I recommend you do is if you've been flying around in manual mode, just flick it into normal mode before you sort of bring it back to land. And then we're just gonna do exactly the same thing. We're gonna aim for the hip to upper torso area, bring it back in nice and slowly, stop around 1 to 2 meters away. And then once you've got it there, you can press the pause button again, and then you can just lift up the goggles, move over to the drone, do the little grab and flip, and we should be good to go. So I'm going to do a full demonstration again. I'm going to do it twice so you get a full understanding. And I'm going to see how you hand catch using the FPV3 controller. Okay, so I've been flying around, having a good time. I'm ready to land. I'm going to flick it into normal mode, and then I'm just going to bring it back to me nice and slowly. Like I said, I'm aiming for that lower hip to upper torso area, and I'm going to position this next to my other camera again, just so you can see. Bring it in nice and close, and then I'm just going to press the pause button so the drone stops moving. Goggles up, I'm going to see the drone, move over to it to that perfect height, grab on top and flip. Nice and easy, not daunting, really simple procedure. As long as you put it in the right place, it's really easy to grab and turn it over. Okay, let me do another demonstration. Okay, so we've been flying around again, having a good time over the rice fields, and now we're going to bring it back nice and slowly, dodge these trees, and then I'm going to position it again at that same altitude. I'm going to put it right next to my other camera just so you can see clearly. So I'm going to stop, I'm going to hit the pause button, goggles up. This is where the neck strap comes in handy. I can just let go of the controller, move over to the drone. It's at that perfect altitude. I can grab it nice and easy, turn it over, and it stops. Really simple, really easy. And yeah, it makes hand catching an absolute doddle when using either of these controllers. So that's the basic principle between hand launching and catching with the FPV3 controller. The main thing is when you're flying back to yourself, just take it nice and slow, position it at a nice comfortable space, then press the pause button, give yourself time to get everything ready, and then move over to the drone, grab it, flip it over, and you're gonna have a really smooth, seamless experience. Okay, so that's it. You now know everything you need to know about safely hand launching and hand catching your Avata 2. It's really not that daunting. Go out there, practice, and you're gonna have a really smooth, seamless experience. And once you've hand launched and you're flying around, if you wanna know how to make your footage even more cinematic, go and check out this video right here. And if you wanna know just how much footage you can capture, only one battery on the Avata 2, little heads up, it's absolutely incredible. Go and check out this video right here. Thank you so much for watching. Fly safe, enjoy, and as always, I will see you in the next one, if I can still see after this sun is blinding me. Bye-bye.